guys. Again, my name is Aaron Guyette. I'm a co-owner as well as a trainer here at Innovative Results, and I'm going to be teaching what I know about kettlebell. We'd already gone over hip hinge, which is super important for kettlebell. We just went over swings, double and single, and all these little tricks with it. Now we're going to go over rack. And rack is going to be super important if you're doing any sort of long cycle or jerk, okay, for your movements. And we're teaching basically traditional kettlebell. I know there are a myriad of other things that we can do with this kettlebell. And so we're just barely skimming the surface, and we're going to go over some of the more traditional lifts that we have learned from our IKSFA brothers and OKC brothers out in Russia and sisters, and here locally in the Bay Area and even Redondo with our buddies, right? Dolby. It's too high. Okay, so what we're going to start with is our static rack, but in order to get up into our static rack, we've got to do a little bit of a swing. So we did swing, we did hip hinge. I'm going to use purposely a little bit heavier kettlebell, a little bit, just to help my rack position. And I'm going to go ahead and swing back into it, up into my rack. Now I want to point out a couple of things. When I'm up in my rack, right, I've got this resting on the structural part of my arm, as well as the kettlebell resting on the structural part of my arm up here, upper arm, chest, and forearm. My hand is through as far as it can be. It's resting here on the bone. It's resting right here on the palm. Okay, my hand is relaxed. Okay, I've got my hips rolled forward. Now most people would immediately say that is wrong. Well, not really how biomechanics works. I'm actually getting my back out of the picture, so it's not creating undue forces on my vertebrae. It's actually creating a force only on my hips and down. And as you guys know, your hips and down are probably a lot stronger than as we go up a little bit further through the spine. Things tend to get weaker as they go further leverage-wise, right? Further from the ground where gravity forces our body to meet with our feet, okay? So we'll go up, and it's resting on my iliac crest, right? This little cool, sexy little divot there that we all try to create. It's actually resting on the hip, elbows on the hip. So the force of this bell is going through my arm, into the hip, and down through my legs. I'm going to try to get my legs as static as possible and as relaxed as possible in this movement. And what I've got to do is get my vertebrae out of the picture. So it's just rack there. And I can just hold this all day long, right? Or as long as I'm strong enough to hold it. Okay? And then from here, I just go out into my swing and set it back down. And I'm going to actually hold that for a minute, right? The way that I've got this set up, I've minute on, 20 seconds off for 4 sets. So 2 on the right, 2 on the left. Now you can do variations thereof, but that's what we're going to do for this progression, okay? And this is our Wednesday progression. Unless you're coming on different days and we're still teaching it, then good for you, you lucked out, okay? So now from the static rack, I'm going to go swing to opposite. Swing to opposite. And the way this is going to work, it's going to help me smoothly transition into my rack position. So I'm going to swing it, and I'm going to rack it with the opposite arm. And what a lot of times happens is we do this, boom, and then swing it out, and it hits the arm, and then your arm hurts. You're like, oh, this sucks, and then you get it up here where it's not supposed to be, and you can't find your iliac crest, and you're resting it on your belly. Okay, so what we're going to try to do is I'm going to keep this here ready to rack it, and so I'm going to swing up and set it in. Getting my rotation involved a little bit, swing it up, rest it in. So finding that rack position as fast as I possibly can by rotating through, and that will help for when I actually do a real rack. You're going to kind of be doing a little bit of a rotation to set it into its perfect little rack position here. All right, so that's the second drill that we'll do. First one is static rack. Next one, you can do it with double kettlebells if you want to get burly. Next one is swinging into opposite rack or opposing rack from the swing, right? And now we're gonna actually swing it up and catch it, right? And that's gonna help with racking it on one side. I'm gonna catch it where my rack is supposed to be. And worst case scenario, right, I'm using just bare feet. It's because I don't have my weightlifting shoes. I forgot them again. So bare feet is going to be better than my cross trainers or my running shoes. I'm going to have much more communication with the ground that way. Okay, and then I can actually, I'm going to work out my arches just like they would if I were in my weightlifting shoes. Now obviously weightlifting shoes are much safer than bare feet for this reason. If I miss my catch and it falls, I've got to be smart enough to get out of the way, or just assume the risk that my feet are going to get smashed and I'm going to be pissed and I'm going to be out of kettlebell for a while. So I'm just going to pray that I don't drop it, and if I do drop it, I'm just going to get out of the way, because it's not going to hurt the kettlebell, right? It's not going to hurt the ground, it's just going to hurt me. So swinging, right? Good swings, and then swing up and rack it or catch it right here. Not even using the handle at all, I'm just catching the bell, and what would normally be the rack up here. But this is just a drill to practice that weightlessness as well as the swing, getting it right back on, right, with my finger flexors where it should be when I'm doing the swing. Okay, so swing to catch, and I can do both sides. Again, we're doing minute on or 30 seconds on, 1 minute on, 20 seconds off, 2 on one side and 2 on the other. So right, left, left. That's how it's gonna roll. Okay, so from there, I've got my double static rack, right? So my feet are gonna have to be a little bit wider. My toes tend to come out a little bit more, and I do a little outside, inside while I'm swinging to make this thing happen. But same position, tall spine, wide shoulders, swing. Right, and just straight into that rack. Elbows on the iliac crest, coming together here. Arms are relaxed. It's on the structured part of the bone. And I'm relaxed as much as I can, statically here. Just meditating for that minute. Come back out, swing. Okay, 20 seconds rest, right? So it's just swing up, static rack. Swing up, static rack. And then the last one is just double swings to rack. We're going to use our breath with our movement, right? Double swings to the rack, and then coming out of that. I'm going to show you front, and I'm going to show you the side. Much. So notice tall spine, wide shoulder as burying my chest to get my hip hinge in it. I was coming back, fully extending here, and then driving through the hip, up, into the rack, trying to use as little movement as possible so it's not coming way out and up, wasting a bunch of movement. That is going to be what we're going to do for our rack. Enjoy.